Welcome to another episode of First Past the Post podcast. I'm delighted to say this evening we're joined by another very special guest in 2016 Champion Jockey, Jim Crowley. Jim, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, pleasure. Really good pleasure for you coming on. Really appreciate it, and hopefully get to hear much more about you and your career. So, shall we get straight into it then? Was it always in the family then? Your racing background, and was it always a passion of yours to become a jockey?
Yeah, I think it was. I think my dad rode a bit as a flat jockey, and Mum had horses, and they trained point to pointers for a short time. And actually, I was always brought up around horses, show jumpers, race horses, and then I went into sort of racing by default. Really, I had a girlfriend who lived quite close to a racing yard, and that seemed quite handy. So I started riding out nearby, and yeah, I got the bug. It was for a little trainer called Con Horgan, who I started off with, and I didn't really have much ideas about being a jockey. I was it was a stopgap really, and then it took off. Obviously, then I became an amateur jockey. I was a porkier back then, and decided to go down the national hunt route, and did probably, I think, 7 or 8 seasons as a national hunt jockey.
And what was it that sort of made you change back to being a flat jockey again?
I wasn't particularly happy with how my career was going over the jumps. I by no means struggling. I was riding sort of 40, 50 winners a year, tipping away. But I just had I don't know, it was strange. I just had a nagging feeling just to give the flat a try. I actually at the time had one eye on maybe going training. And I thought it'd be a good idea if I could get a few rides on the flat. And I was very lucky that my father-in-law was a very good flat trainer, and his daughter as well, Amanda Perrett. And my father-in-law being Guy Harwood, he trained the great Dancing Brave many years ago. And he would always say, why don't you get some of that fat off you and try being a flat jockey. I used to think he was joking really, because I had absolutely no experience on the flat. I'd been jumping and I had no claim. I didn't have too many contacts, but just I got lucky. Amanda was very good. They put me up, and I think I got on quite a good horse early on actually for Rod Millman, who had Sergeant Cecil at the time, but he also had another horse there called Horridge Prince.
Mm-hmm.
He won the Jockey Club Cup, which is now the 2-mile race on Champions Day.
Yeah.
And I was actually still a jump jockey when I won on him that day. So the following year, he was like second favourite for the Ascot Gold Cup and races like that. And I just had to have a little chat with myself. Do I want to carry on being a jump jockey or try and better my horizons on the it's the best thing I ever did.
It's not gone badly, has it?
Yeah.
No, I don't miss wet cold days at Plumpton or Sedgefield. No, definitely not.
I mean, was it hard to sort of make that final decision in moving to the flat after, I think you clocked up, was it about 300 winners over jumps, and was it really ultimately a hard decision? And did you find it challenging with the weight as well? I mean, I bet that was quite a struggle, getting the weight down for being a flat jockey also.
It was. I had a really weird diet actually. I was a bit OCD about it all for a bit. I lived on a tin of baked beans and twice a day and a banana, and I basically ran like Forrest Gump for about a month, and it just fell off me. And I went from being like 9.5 stone to like 8'10", 8'11", and I had to, I had a lot of people putting me up at the time because I was an ex-jump jockey. Anything a bit dodgy, i.e. wouldn't go in the stalls, bad ride, it was stick Jim on it. He's a jump jockey, he won't mind. Mm-hmm. So, I really did have to start at the bottom, riding a lot of moderate horses, but I just got quite a lot of rides, and things just snowballed after that, really.
What was sort of your first memory of racing? Did you watch a lot of it growing up? And Did you have any jockeys you sort of idolised when you was younger?
I did. Obviously, I was more into the National Hunt. The one race, two races that really stick in my mind growing up. One was Desert Orchids Gold Cup.
Yeah.
And the other one was, I would say, Dancing Braves Arc de Triomphe. That was a one stuck in, I think it stuck in everybody's mind, to be honest. And it seems mad growing up. I'm now living where he was trained, you know?
Yeah.
Those are the two main ones that I remember growing up. And jockeys, I was a big fan of Richard Dunwoody over jumps, Adrian Maguire. They were like big heroes of mine. And Mick Cannan on the flat was, for me, he was amazing, you know?
And sort of going into like your flat career as well now, I mean, what have been some of the standout, you know, memories so far that you've taken from your overall flat career?
There's been a few. I've had some great days. I've been very fortunate. I mean, I think if I hadn't have been champion jockey, I wouldn't be in the position I'm in now, riding these nice horses for Sherman, who's alive, and Shadwell. I suppose being champion jockey is the ultimate. It's what every jockey sets out to do. That was, you know, very much enjoyed doing that. Batash winning the Nunthorpe was a very special day. You know, that was a bit special, breaking Deja's record. And Sheikh Hamdan being there himself as well made it even more special. Mahatha, Sussex Stakes. Unfortunately, nobody was there that day, but it was still very important. And I must mention Ulysses winning the Eclipse, because I was supposed to ride Eminent in the race, who I'd ridden in the Derby. And I was on Eminent all week, and then at 10 to 10, I lost the ride at declaration time. And I was very fortunate to have got on Ulysses, who got up and won in a photo. So that's how racing works sometimes, you know. It was that was a great day. You know, I went from being really dejected 2 days before to complete elation after winning the Eclipse, which is for me one of the biggest flat races around.
And you mentioned like the Jockeys Championships. I mean, did you find that challenging? Because I mean, I bet it was sort of hard to. I mean, I bet you're riding many horses every day, you know, at different courses. Did you find that a struggle?
I actually thrived off it. It was funny because I was really fit. I do a lot of training at home, and I run. And I rang my agent the year before to take me on, and we sort of did have it as a bit of a plan to go for the Jockeys Championship. So I made sure I was really fit, but we rode a lot of horses. I mean, I think in September I was lucky enough to ride 46 winners in September alone. I don't know how many rides. It was probably around 200, possibly. And I think by the end of the season, I knew I'd done it. I was pretty exhausted, actually, but it was the best thing I've ever done. I loved it. I'd love to go for it again. It's a lot easier nowadays. I sound like the right old. Only one meeting a day. You know, it is, the weights have gone up. Oh, carry on, but no, it's not easy to do. As William Buick, you know, he'll testify that it's not easy to do, and so I'm glad I've achieved that.
You mentioned Batash there. Just how good was he? And you know, he obviously broke all sorts of track records. But what is it like to sit on a horse with that sort of speed as well?
Yeah, he was amazing. I mean, he was frustrating because I went to France in the Abbey twice thinking he'd win, and he disappointed me. I thought he'd win 2 more Nunthorpes and he got beat. I thought he'd win 2 more King Stands and he finished second. But on the plus side, we had some great days. I mean, he was near on unbeatable at Goodwood when he was in top form. I think the day he blew me away, 2 days in particular. One is when he won the Nunthorpe, obviously, but he also won the Prix de l'Abbé, and he absolutely smashed the field. I mean, it was just like, I don't even think the French could believe how well he won that day. Called him Le Monster in the paper the next day, and he was. So yeah, I do miss him because he was a great horse. He was a character. And sprinters like him, you normally have one who wins one Group 1 in a year, but he was so dominant for like 4 seasons. He never quite got up the hill at Ascot. I mean, that did find him out. That stiff 5 furlongs, and he was pretty one-dimensional to ride. He was just jump and go, and you were a passenger basically. So it was nice to win the King's Stand with him. Like I said, unfortunately, nobody was there that year.
Yeah.
Which is probably why he won, because he boiled over before the race. He went to post, cool as a cucumber going down that day. So, but yeah, he was really special to ride. Actually, once in a lifetime type of horses they are.
And obviously moving on to now a very special horse again, Baaeed. I mean, what has he been like for you? I mean, it's just, people are sort of making comparisons to Frankel. I mean, what is your take on that, and how good is he?
He's very good. It's hard for me to compare him to Frankel. I didn't ride against Frankel. I didn't ride in any of his races. I rode against See the Stars. Frankel, I think he's got a bit of a way to go to be there with Frankel. But he's certainly extremely talented. I'd probably go as far as say it's the best horse I've ridden. We'll see by the end of the year. I think, obviously that's going to be, this is his defining year. He's already won 3 Group 1s. It probably only run 3/4 times this year. So hopefully he can stay unbeaten. But yeah, he's a very special horse. It's quite sad that Sheikh Hamdan isn't around to see it. He's trying to breed horses like what he has. He's bred some amazing horses in Nashwan and Harb and Tagruda, some amazing horses. So yeah, it would have been nice for him to have seen this, but I know his daughter, Sheikha Hissa, who's very much involved with all the horses now. She'd be very, very excited about him. And we all are.
Do you think he could step up in trip and win a race like the Arc if he was supplemented?
It's a good question. The answer is yes. I do. I think he's talented. I don't think it would be a problem. But the thing is, he's got so much speed. Where do you draw the line? I mean, it's like Sir Henry Cecil was brilliant with Frankel because he kept him in his sort of comfort zone a little bit. He never tried him in the Derby. He didn't try him in the Arc, probably because he knew it might not have worked out. This horse has got unbelievable speed, considering his pedigree. It's 1.5 miles. His brother Huckham is a 1.6 mile winner. So I think 1.25 miles. We will try it. Or he'll go down that route at some stage through the season. Whether it would be the Juddmonte, that probably looks the obvious race to try him. But the answer to your question, I think yes. I do believe in the horse very much. So, but I'm not quite. I don't think we'll see him in the Arc. But you never know. Never know.
And you mentioned there his brother Hookham. I mean, how good of a horse is he as well? And how's he felt as well when you've been on top of him winning races?
He's good. I actually rode him this morning. It's funny because they're obviously full brothers, and they both won first time out, and they both came from miles back. I mean, when Hookham won his maiden at Kempton, he was tailed off turning in. Tails off, and he came home, and Baaeed was way behind when he won at Leicester. They're very different. Hookham obviously doesn't have that turn of foot, but he's got a similar head, looks similar. They're very level-headed horses. They've got great minds. But Huckham's a real solid horse. He's won a couple of Group 2s now, Group 3s. I love him. I think he's just he always turns up. He reminds me of a horse we had a few years ago called Mustachery, who actually won. But he was like really solid. He never ran a bad race. And I think Huckham's the same. He just turns up, gives you his all, and hopefully we can make him a Group 1 winner somewhere through the year. He's going to start off a Coronation next week, Epsom, which should be a tough race. But and then maybe later on in the year, he might get his passport out and go on his travels again. One in Dubai. I'd love to see him in a Canadian International or even Breeders' Cup Turf or something like that. I think he's tailor-made for those races.
Interesting, yeah. And you mentioned like obviously going overseas, and I'm sure you've had many opportunities to do that yourself. Has there been any standout moments like going abroad, different countries that you've ridden in?
Well, I've been very lucky in France. I've ridden some big winners there. Germany. I've ridden nice winners in Dubai as well. I think I didn't have a winner there, but I actually rode 2 winners in Australia, but only on a small level. But riding in the Melbourne Cup was, I think we don't appreciate it until you go there and be a part of it, how big it really is. And they say it's a race that stops the nation. It's exactly that. I mean, it's like, how can I compare it? It's like us having the FA Cup final, the Grand National, the Derby, men's final at Wimbledon, all one day. So that was great. I went and rode in that, I think in 20, would have been maybe 18, called Muntaha, who won the Ebor. And yeah, loved every minute of it. So I'd love to go back, maybe have another stab at that. That's a great race.
Is there a particular race that you haven't won that you'd love to win before retiring?
Loads. I've knocked on the door in all the classics. I've nothing's. I can't say any of them were unlucky or anything. I was second in the Oaks. Maybe I was unlucky that day because I was on the wrong one, and my stablemate won it. Talent, who was 16-1. I rode Secret Gesture, who went off nearly favourite second. Second in the St Ledger twice, placed in the Derby. Yeah, so it has to be a classic.
Yeah,
I've got fed up banging my head against the wall now if I don't do it. If I do it, great. If I don't, it's one. But I think the ultimate race for any jockey is the Epsom Derby or the Arc de Triomphe. They're the two that in Europe anyway.
Yeah. And a question we always ask a jockey when we get them on the podcast: what sort of former horse from the past and the present would you like to ride, and why? I mean, you're probably on the best one at the moment in the present time, but any others you'd love to ride now, and one from the present from the past as well?
I mean, there's the obvious ones like Dancing Brave. He looked unbelievable, and See the Stars. They're two, but the one I really loved as a horse was Giant's Causeway, because he was just one of those horses you had to grab a hold of them, and just he was tough. And I'd love to have ridden a horse like him. And Galileo, he was awesome. But
yeah,
probably Giant's Causeway for me. I just loved the horse. I loved his very tenacious, and I think we might have got on quite well.
And one from the present as well.
Oh, from the present.
That you've not already ridden.
That's a good question. I can't think of. I mean, I tell you what, the horse who won the Homeless Song, who won the Irish Guineas on Sunday.
Yeah, that bolted up, didn't it?
Yeah, fairly useful from the present. But I don't think I'd swap by you, to be honest. Too much.
I don't blame you.
And just like maybe for any sort of young jockeys that potentially are watching this, is there any challenges that you faced when you were younger that you overcame, and how you overcame them?
I think jockeys, you have many different challenges thrown in front of you from people knocking you back. You get dropped off. You go through stages of fashion in your career where you're in fashion, you're not in fashion, and you'll see people riding horses and you think, oh, why aren't I on that? And it's character building. It's a bit like an actor going for a part and you not get the part. It's like things like that just certainly make you stronger. I started off, obviously, as I said, as a national hunt jockey. So there's plenty of ups and downs in that, injuries, things like that. But I think a lot of it is, as I said, character building, makes you stronger. Offering any advice to anybody is just don't give up, really. Just, I mean, if you'd have said to me when I was a jump jockey, oh, you're going to be riding first jockey to Shadwell and Champion Jockey, like, you'd have just laughed and said, you're off your rocker. So anything's possible. Anything's possible. You know, if you work hard at something, I think racing is a very, what's the word? You need to be quite thick-skinned, and you have to have a very positive attitude to get on. And if you don't have either of those, you might struggle. So hard work is a necessity. It beats talent. Conor McGregor, hard work beats talent. So it's probably about right as well.
Is there maybe one or two horses you could give our listeners to keep an eye on or to look out for?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, there's a couple of nice horses who are running at the moment who everybody, I'm sure they've seen. A horse called Mostadaf runs in the Brigadier Gerard Stakes. He's very good. I think he could win an Eclipse. I think he's that good. But we'll see. He's got to go and pass the test by in the Brigadier Gerard Stakes. We've got another horse of Charlie Hill's. It's called Musta Sabek, who should have won the Group 2 at Sandown. He was second. There's a big in him. Aldari, who won the Balmoral Handicap last year. He's won a listed race last time. I'm pretty sure he's a Group 1 horse. So on soft ground, he's another one. He needs soft ground, but if you see him in a group race with a soft ground, then he's going to definitely come to the. And we've got some nice young horses coming through. A couple of 2-year-olds. I don't know the names of them. I just know what they're by, actually. So flag them up, because I think most of Shadwell's 2-year-olds now would not be your usual fast ones that we buy from the sales. They're more homebreds, stay in pedigree. So we're not going to have too many 2-year-old runners for a bit. But I did actually sit on a very nice 2-year-old for Dr. Jim Hay, who won at Goodwood last week. The owner, Dr. Jim and Feathery Hay, trained by Paul Cole. He won the first race at Goodwood. He's going to go to Royal Ascot for the Coventry, and I think he's very smart. I forget his name now. I should remember it. It's something so patriotic, as Dr. Jim, all his horses are to do with Scotland. So, but yeah, he shouldn't be hard to find, that fella. And
you mentioned Mostadaf, and obviously you're riding in tomorrow evening, aren't you? And I think Liam, you were actually at Sandown once, weren't you?
I've got to thank you for that. I backed him on his second appearance. I was there that day, so cheers for that, Jim.
I mean, you didn't see on him in the paddock, did you? He's got his little party piece. He likes to rear up on his hind legs.
Yeah.
And he frightened the life out of me the first time I got him. I thought he was backwards, but he's a bit of a lad. But yeah, he's as you see, he's only been beaten once in the St James Stakes.
Yeah.
And I think there was genuine reasons for that. I went for a very ambitious run up the inside, and he got shot off. Well, I don't think he would have won anyway that day, because it was a mile, probably a bit sharp for him. But yeah, he's a talented horse.
So you think there's much more to come then from him?
I hope so. I mean, John Gosden is a absolutely genius trainer, and he will have his season mapped out for him. And I would imagine, as most of John Gosden's horses do, they keep improving as the season goes on.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, Liam, have you got any more questions to ask?
No, that's brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Jim.
Yeah, no really problem. Appreciate it, Jim. And obviously, good luck tomorrow evening with Mostadaf. And have you got one other runner as well, I think? I noticed. Yeah,
I ride Rebel Territory for Amanda Perrett. He's a decent horse. He loves soft ground. Depends how much rain they've had there. He won at Newmarket last year. So, yeah, it'd be nice to have a double there tomorrow.
Definitely tune into that. So yeah, best of luck with that, and thank you everyone for listening. Hope you enjoyed, and we'll be back soon. Thank you very much.